so that they can overwhelm society. That's why they drug the water, to make us more submissive. This is serious. Okay, there is your long, detailed answer. I'm glad because I can't even get excited now until I'm challenged. That's what's going on. There's your examples of censorship. It's already begun. Is there any censorship going on? Or is that a pipe dream too there? Did the caller hang up? Caleb in Texas, go ahead.
I'm still here, sir. I think maybe I gave you the wrong impression. Let me just say that I was military in D.C., and I can attest firsthand to many of the things you're talking about. What I'm trying to say, I see that big ugly monster. In fact, I had the proof in my hands about 2 years ago of what's going on in St. Louis right now with the tanks. I saw the plan about 2 years ago.
Well, I'm sorry. But you know what? I'm going to go to break and come back to you then. I tend to go off half-cocked just because I'm freaked out, okay? I get the phone calls where they've been listening to my phone and tell me what they were listening to. My crew has seen this happen with my wife calling up crying. So I live it, man. I've had the guys in the parking lot punching me in the nose saying, we're here to tell you shut up or you're dead. And so I know it's real. And it's so frustrating to the general public out there who doesn't. So when I think somebody's in denial, I get angry. But I apologize. I'm going to come back, give you the floor. I'm going to shut up. I'm going to try to get into the other news. I haven't done any of that. It's just all too insane. Well, we'll come back to the caller on the other side and find out about what's going on in St. Louis from his military perspective. Stay with us. Infowars.com, prisonplanet.tv. Okay, let's go ahead and go to Caleb in Texas. Okay, go ahead and make your point, sir.
My point was, Mr. Jones, and I'm not here to discount anything you're saying. I don't take anybody's word just because they say it. I go and I do my research. And much of what you've said is true. And I'm just trying to figure out how big this thing really is. I mean, I see the monster on the hill. It's coming towards us. I mean, I was, part of it for a little bit, and I had to, get away from it. I'm just trying to figure out how big. Is there any institution we can trust? We can't trust religion, can't trust banks. The military, that's a freaking joke. The government, don't waste your time. Is there anything we can trust? I mean, how big? Well,
good people over time let bad people who want power and want to control others get into positions everywhere and create a new national spirit where worshiping tyranny and worshiping government is the new patriotism. And so all the curses that come with it are here. And it's just going to get worse. We've just got to discredit the system and point out it's illegitimate. And that our country's been occupied. I mean, the bankers get on TV and brag they've occupied us. And the yuppies they're on too big of power trips themselves to admit they've been slaves. So they play this mind game where they decide to join the system. Well, you don't join with this. This is evil turned loose. But individuals that make up the system are all that is holding it back right now. That's why they want total mindless compliance or zero tolerance. It's why they make a store clerk at the grocery store, and I've seen it, 80-something-year-old men buying pipe tobacco, old women buying a bottle of wine, look like great-grandma's grandma, and they got some zit-faced 18-year-old demanding to see their ID. And the old woman's hand shaking, giving it to her. It's just about the store clerk isn't allowed to think for themselves. The police aren't allowed to make a decision themselves. Everybody's got to do what they're programmed. The system wants programming. How do we beat programming? We start being our own person. That's how you deal with this. That's how you defeat the New World Order. That's why all over the country, I told people years ago, because it was in the local paper, people didn't believe it, because they had one of the city councilmen go, they could be growing marijuana in all these gardens coming up, and they're getting chickens too. That could be unsanitary. We need to make people get licenses to have gardens to make sure they're not growing marijuana. This from the government. Well, where did they go with code enforcement? In the old woman's backyard and cut down a few weeks ago. She's suing them. And they said, well, we do this to everybody. Our code says whatever we feel is objectionable. Remember the woman with the garden up in Michigan? They said, we find it objectionable. Nice, pretty little garden. But this old woman had one in the backyard. Not even the law. There's no law against it. They went in there, cut it down, and gave her a bill. This is who these people are, because we're prisoners to them. We're prisoners. And we're all guilty until proven slave. And that's why last night I got to have cops run up behind me, run my license plate, and then run around me. And I thought, well, maybe they're looking for somebody in a truck. I thought that for about 10 seconds till I saw them just speed up to the next person and pull them over. They were just randomly pulling people over. And that's not what America's supposed to be about. And I guess if I work late tonight, I'm not going to, but if I did work late tonight, I just get to like go. Well, I'm getting in my car now. I get to go out and run the gauntlet. I get to go out and deal with all this. I just and there's all these excuses for it. Fine, folks. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, yes, Mr. Jones. I appreciate your time.
I appreciate you. Look, we're in what they call a pickle, or up the creek without a paddle. I mean, this is just, let me tell you, I've studied history, and let me tell you, this is the nastiest tyranny I've ever seen. I mean, we're in a lot of trouble, ladies and gentlemen.
You are listening.
Harry Dent's going to be joining us, economist, researcher, made a lot of accurate predictions concerning the economy. He's going to be joining us, and we'll continue with calls as well. And I will also get into the whole power outage situation, give you my take on that. But I went off into a rant about censorship, how people, not the caller, I misunderstood him, but people in general. First, there's not going to be any censorship. And then as it begins, they start defending that. Saying, what's the big deal? Let's go ahead and go to Ben in Texas. Thanks for holding, Ben. You're on the air.
Yes, sir. Alex?
Yes.
Hi. First-time caller. I've been doing a lot of research online, and, I heard somebody on your show like last week, his statement was, where are the Patrick Henrys of our generation, when is it time to, take that step, into our own hands, the more violent step. And just my basic comment is, a group that does such a tragic act like 9/11, they would have no reservations, busting out, the big buttons on us.
No, that's right. The people running things carried out 9/11. And I know why people don't want to admit that, even though it's just proofs everywhere, because it's scary. And no, but they're already planning to release bioweapons anyway, so we might as well fight them on our terms. And I don't mean start a fight, because they want to start a fight so they can have a civil war. We need to just totally end the info war while we still have somewhat of a free internet, absolutely discredit these people so that they are so paralyzed with exposure they can't stage big events and then pose as the saviors. We're in a death race, sir. That's what I try to get across to people. This is life and death. I almost punch myself in the face every day after the show that I wasn't hardcore enough, I wasn't focused enough, I didn't have enough eloquence to really get it across to people that we're 2 seconds to midnight, that these are the most vicious murdering killers. The United Nations on record is in Honduras and Uganda and other countries lining up villagers and shooting them to take their property. And the United Nations is on record kidnapping kids by the hundreds of thousands for slave labor, snuff films, sex slaves, and it's even in the news as the thing. I mean, it's just pure evil. Federal Reserve, pure child-raping, narcotics-selling, scum of the earth criminals. See, folks, you side with this system in any way, okay? You are absolutely signing on with El Diablo. You might as well. I've told people, folks, if you're not going to fight this system, you might as well just go ahead and go join the Church of Satan. Why not go all the way? Hot nor cold, I spit you out of my mouth. I mean, the only good news is all the people serving this system, if it comes into fruition, are going to be dead. And it's not going to be us that kills them. Their master is going to kill them, and I hope they enjoy it. Anything else?
Just talk about 9/11 more. That's the only thing that I would offer you as constructive criticism. And the only thing that I can see us breaking, this evil, just pure evil is, Martin Luther King and Gandhi. We need nonviolence. There's a better way to live life.
No, I agree with you. And, clearly they blew up Building 7 and the rest of it. And I mean, did you know I was the guy that day one said it was an inside job?
I did about a year ago. My friend, a good friend of mine, sends you a lot of music, and he's been turning me on.
No, but I mean, I just had people contacting me going, "Did you know 9/11 was an inside job?" And I'm kind of like, "Really? I didn't know that." I said it 6 months before, 2 months before. I said they'd blow up the World Trade Center before it happened and blame it on bin Laden. Everybody focuses on the controlled demolition. I think that's important, but I should make a new film on 9/11 because it's incredible. Let me ask you a question. All right, in a moment, we're going to go to Harry S. Dent, best-selling author, economist, trends forecaster, who's made a lot of very accurate predictions and breakdowns. I want to get his view on the unfolding meltdown that's taking place that CNBC says is setting up a global private government where megabanks rule us. Gee, I said that 17 years ago. We need to dredge up all of those quotes because that's what this world government is. That's what None Dare Call It Conspiracy by Gary Allen covers back in print from 1971, available at Infowars.com. We're about to go to our guest, but let me infomercial here for a moment because that's how we fund ourselves. But most importantly, I've done 2 hours of broadcast here so far and really haven't plugged much. We're going to get Matthew Stein, who's written When Technology Fails, that we cover and carry at InfoWars Shop on the next few days, and also author of When Disaster Strikes, as well as Joel Skousen, who's warned about the power grid not being able to handle big storms, much less some type of magnetic pulse or big coronal mass ejection out of the sun. All of these books deal with the fact that our industrial society is on a very precarious tightrope, and we've seen this illustrated by within hours of what they call a hurricane on land, huge storms in the Midwestern eastern area, right to the eastern seaboard, right through Virginia. Power off now for a couple days, 3 million still without power, part of D.C. dark. There's actually some good in that. Maybe they won't be able to do as much mischief. Catastrophic damage to the power grids, unscheduled leave for federal workers, hell commute, thousands of lights have stopped. Well, maybe if the government would spend less time buying armored personnel carriers, even in small towns, and drones and all the rest of it, maybe then we could get the country going again. But again, this whole predatory monopolistic system wants a cratered society where only they have the high ground politically and militarily to consolidate control. Now, that's my view on the situation. Joining us via video Skype is the best-selling author of The Great Crash Ahead, Harry S. Dent Jr., and he has an interesting bio. I'm not going to go over the whole thing, but he's the founder of HS Dent, an economic research firm specializing in demographic trends. His mission is helping people understand change. Using years of hands-on business experience in the late 1980s, Dent developed a new way of understanding the economy and forecasting what lies ahead based on consumers, which he outlined in his book, The Great Boom Ahead, in late 92. In that book, he stood virtually alone in accurately forecasting the unanticipated boom of the 1990s and even called for the next Great Depression to start in 2008. He sure did. Dent has offered several best-selling books, including The Great Depression Ahead in 2008, and he keeps